what I see in like the projects that you're either getting involved in or founding is just like you looking at being on the fringes of things, kind of as the scout almost, and like seeing, okay, what do we need, right? Like what is
Like it.
missing here? You know, like the on-chain gang stuff. Like that's a thing that was missing at that time. There's a lot of the WIP probably where you're highlighting a lot of like new projects and things like this. So you're now founding the on-chain chain, right? Like you're doing this with the art blocks, and you mentioned interoperability as like one of the key ideals there of like having something that you could take and not have that siloed garden uh, piece there. So kind of like talk about that, man. Like talk about kind of founding on chain, what the details are and how that all came about.
Yeah. Thank you, man. So it's a it's a in my head, it's a very, very cool idea masquerading as a very, very silly, goofy idea. But basically, the on-chain chain is like a wearable for your avatar, and it's like a big, like Flava Flav style like chain, and they're all like randomly generated. The project's going to get launched on Art Blocks. Everything on Art Blocks is all built completely on chain. So I like that, the thread, of the on chain gang sort of rolls into the on chain chain. I had to explain to someone. I was like, you don't get it? It's like a play on the on chain gang, like on chain. Anyway, um, so so, so I had this idea like a long time ago, sort of like what we were just talking about. I'm like, we do these things in virtual worlds all the time. We do them in different virtual worlds. I want like one thing that I can like bring in all different places and not have to buy like a different chain for every single virtual world that you take your little guy into or whatever. So I was like, we want interoperable stuff. So that's like what I set out to build, like and wanted to do like the like goofy like on chain type of thing. But so in theory, man, it's like a high end piece of like metaverse fashion. It's like built really really well. Completely on chain. So in my head, that's like some boss shit. And but it's also finding that it's really really difficult to deliver the interoperability piece that I want and that everyone wants. So that's going to be like the ongoing sort of like mission with this thing is to so like when you buy one, you'll be able to import the .vox file and like basically do whatever you want with it. It's like very seamless to like convert that and mint that in like a few different places, but also some of these places are like still walled gardens and might need like some on chain pressure to like let us bring our chains in or whatever, but they should, right? Um, so so that's gonna it offers some level of like interoperability like right out of the box, but I feel like this is important, and so I've been talking to Jin and Toxam, both of whom are like very much on the forefront of interoperability and working with those concepts within the metaverse and NFTs to figure out like how we can continue to get this thing in as many places as possible. So I think it's cool, man. It's
Yeah.
like not you buy a lot of these NFTs and you get a roadmap. Like you get an on-chain chain, you get like a thing that you can use. That's cool.
Yeah, I want to talk on the fashion piece of this. You said you mentioned to your wife that you're like a high-end fashion designer now, which I think is fucking hilarious. But I want to stay in the interoperability piece still. Like, are you going to Decentraland? Are you going to these other metaverses and like having physical discussions, like the actual technical details of getting this done? Like people kind of like say that this isn't really even, I guess, like achievable, this interoperability between all of these different games, but you're of course like going out and proving that it's actually achievable. But how does that work? Like, do you go to these different projects and
Janky.
and figure it out? Yeah.
Yeah, janky. So basically, have consulted a lot of people and built the original on-chain chain in a way that would lend itself to being as cross-compatible as humanly possible in a perfect world, which is why it's done in like the Vox model style, because if you do something like super polished and like high end, obviously if you bring it into like crypto voxels or something, you're going to need a different rendering of it or something like that. So you know, wanted it to work in something like Minecraft or, you know, crypto voxels or sandbox, but also, you know, you can bring it into Somnium Space and Decentraland. It will look exactly the same. You'll be rocking like a Vox model thing, but at least it'll be, you know, consistent across like every single thing.